And in today's video, I want to talk about Goku, and specifically about how Super has tarnished the image he has built up over the 519 chapters of the manga. To begin with, I want to talk about how Goku reacted in two specific situations. The first situation was the saga of Piccolo Jr., or as everyone knows him, just Piccolo. The fact is that Kami-sama entered the body of a random human, and even played a bit of a fool so that no one would realize it was him. But even so, Goku realizes that it was Kami-sama, meaning that even before the Saiyajin saga, Goku had this kind of ability. In Dragon Ball Super, Bill disguises himself in a costume and fights the Saiyajin, the one who doesn't realize that the god of destruction was wearing a costume. Yes, a fantasy. Unlike Kami, who really had the body of a human, Bill just put on a silly costume and Goku believed it like a real retard. So, on the one hand, we have a Goku who hasn't been through the Saiyajin saga and can identify a god disguised inside the body of a human. On the other hand, we have a Goku who trained in another world, defended the land from the Saiyajins, defeated Frieza, awakened the legendary Super Saiyajin. He trained in Yadrat, learned to teleport, learned about ki control, trained Gohan like a true master, and because of that they stopped Cell from destroying the Earth, learned to transform into Super Saiyajin 3, beat Adin Buu, learned to transform into Super Saiyajin God, learned to transform into Super Saiyajin Blue, trained with the god of destruction Yuiz, one of the most powerful beings to date by a long margin. But he can't do something he's known since the Piccolo Jr. saga. And wow, the more I say it, the more ridiculous it gets. Now, let's change the focus of the conversation. Let's talk about Goku as a human being, Goku as a person. And at the beginning of the manga, when Goku was just a child, his behavior and cluelessness were completely justifiable. Because 1, he was a child, and 2, the circumstances in which he grew up were totally out of the ordinary. He had no contact with other human beings, apart from his flight. So he didn't know what a girl was, or differentiating one from the other is simply to be expected. But he evolved, and he learned, and as the manga went on, Goku became more and more experienced and more human. He learned about human moral values, so much so that he put Chi-Chi on the Menimbus and marched off into infinity, and Gohan was born, and he raised the boy for years and years when the Earth was at peace. I talked about this in the channel's first video, but then we saw Goku getting stronger and stronger. In the history of the Saiyajin, he was no match for Vegeta, but after that Goku became so powerful because of his tirades that Vegeta began to eat dust, and Goku too. And the conversation he had with Frieza was insane. He was no longer an idiot boy. He was someone who knew exactly what he was doing, and from then on, he only demonstrated more and more how different he was. In the Cell Saga, we learn that Goku was going to die from a disease, so it ends up being uncomfortable for a while, and while he sleeps, various things happen in the real world. Then, when he woke up, Chi-Chi would have to explain a lot to him, but he wakes up and says he already knew everything that was happening from his dreams. He didn't need any context for anything. Goku was different. Both he already knew the context of everything, and he knew exactly what he was going to do. And indeed he did. He trained Gohan masterfully and reached levels of power never reached before. And even though Vegeta and Trunks spent another year in the time room, they didn't even come close to Goku's power. Because Goku trained intelligently. Because he had experience as a battle veteran. Because he's had countless masters and knew exactly what he had to do to get stronger. And while everyone was worried, Goku was quite relaxed. In fact, instead of training, he was resting with Gohan and having quality time with his family. He was brimming with certainty. He had this lesson in experience and wisdom. And in fact, he was completely right in all the pants he gave. And Vegeta himself had to admit that Goku was absolutely different. And that he didn't even buy from him. And the seed of the gods that he gave to heaven was the right pants too. Because he knew that if Gohan didn't get angry, he wouldn't beat heaven. Everyone criticizes, but in fact, Gohan only beat heaven when he got angry. Just as Goku had said, after sacrificing himself so that heaven wouldn't kill everyone, he said that they shouldn't revive him anymore, because the dangers would continue to appear while he was on Earth. And admittedly, he's right about that too. He was thinking long term of the greater good. And when he came ashore for a day in the Bull Saga, well, everything that happened, and a being even more powerful than the sky appeared. So, in fact, Goku attracts trouble to Earth. And I commented on this in the channel's first video. But Goku in Super Saiyan 3 didn't beat Majin Buu, because the Earth would simply continue to depend on him. It was no longer Goku's mission to save the Earth. He was dead. That was a mission for a new generation. Gohan, Goten, and Trunks. And even Vegeta, if he were around. Goku was mature enough to recognize this kind of thing and think like a true sage. And he was completely right again. That Piccolo himself had to recognize and admit that Goku was incredible. He acted like an adult. He acted like a character who had a lot of background in fighting and spirituality. Because in fact he did. Goku was always ahead of everyone because he was more headstrong. In the time room, he spent days and days meditating without even training, and that brought him benefits. He knew how to recognize things calmly and with poise, and to think 10-20 steps ahead of Vegeta, for example, which was completely impossible. And between you and me, he only fucked up because he wanted to fight strong people. By the way, that's exactly what they claim Goku does, because, in fact, he does exactly that in Super. The roles have been reversed. Before, Vegeta let himself be possessed by Beypee, who killed countless innocent people and wanted to force Goku to fight him. And Goku had enough emotional intelligence and world intelligence to know that what Vegeta was doing was fucking shit. Continuing the Mad and Vegeta conversation, Goku instantly realized that Vegeta wasn't being forced into anything by Beypee. He was just pretending, basically, and he realized this at basically the same time Vegeta transformed. Goku saw beyond appearances. He saw things differently from the rest of the characters. But nowadays, he doesn't realize how the God of Destruction is wearing a costume. It's completely ridiculous. Before, Goku was smart enough to realize that he could beat Majin Buu, would be bad for the Earth in the long term. These days, despite several acrimonies at the Bills, he goes to talk to Zeno, and although everything worked out, it wasn't premeditated. He was stupid and was compensated for it. In the past, Vegeta didn't care about his family if it meant having a good fight. These days, Goku has to take a lot of flack from Vegeta about his wife and children. In the past, it made sense that he didn't know Goten was his son. After all, he was dead, and when she found out, she tried to give as much affection as she could, in the limited time he had at the time. Nowadays, he doesn't know what a kiss is. In the past, the characters respected each other and depended on Goku. And when they didn't respect him, after seeing what he was capable of, they would lower their heads, because they recognized his greatness. In the past, Goku knew what meditation was and enjoyed all the benefits of it. During all the arcs, he was always a step ahead in terms of emotional and spiritual intelligence and keys control, in front of everyone because of it. Nowadays, he has to be explained by Vegeta about meditation. It has to be explained that the difference between him and Jiren was Kai control, when he had known this kind of thing since the beginning of Dragon Ball, and he used this knowledge to overcome adversity. Goku is no longer respected by anyone these days. He's become a joke, and he'll always have that image. For the rest of his days, he'll be considered a shitty father. The only moments when I can see a bit of what Goku used to be like are in scenes from Higher Instinct, in the anime against Jiren or Keffa. I really have nothing to complain about. Goku was back to his old self. It was incredible to see how fucking disrespectful he was almost in the middle of battles. Or, against Moro, that he broke his fingers in the Bugs tank. It's amazing how disrespectful he is when he has the upper hand. I love this Goku. It's worth pointing out that I'm not saying that Goku was serious and calculating all the time, but he definitely knew when he could tease and be guffaw-worthy, and when he had to act wisely, respectfully, calmly, and intelligently. It's also worth pointing out that I'm talking about Vegeta, but I like him. I definitely like how crazy he was back in the day, and I like how he's become a family man these days, and that he'd rather stay by Bulma's side when their daughter is born than go and fight. Very different from what he used to be. I swear I love both Vegetas. I love the proud and arrogant Saiyan, and I also like the family man who prioritizes his family. I love it too, and I intend to be just like Vegeta, a father, giving top priority to my family. So my criticism in no way means that I hate the character. I just use it as an example of how some things weigh more just because it's Goku. And Vegeta's development is literally what weighs this video down. Goku forgot everything, while Vegeta grew as a human being and became more headstrong. Goku, who had already reached that point, seems to have gone back to being the child who grew up without human contact. Only this time, there's no justification. He's already an adult who's done everything he's done. The Goku I love and am inspired by is gone. He last appeared in Chapter 519 in 1995. And if you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe or check out other videos on the channel. As usual, stay well and I'm off. Subtitles by the Amara.org community.